So now that we have the 10-minute feature, I want to do a story time about how I got long COVID and how I'm doing today. So in 2020, I was working. I was a cocktail waitress at a casino, and I loved it. I made so much money. I loved working around girls because where I was working before was just around an older generation, and it was so nice to work around girls my age. So it was really fun. And during this time, you had to wear your mask and serve drinks, and I was experiencing symptoms while I was on the floor delivering drinks. So while I was delivering drinks, I had a tray of drinks in one hand, and then a free hand right here. And this could be very difficult when you're going to the tables at the casino, the slot machines and things, and handing them their drink, and also like getting them their change and everything. Like, you really got to balance that tray. I've dropped the tray a couple times. And yes, I got like sympathy money when I dropped my tray. And it was in a room where it was considered high limit. And I came back with their drinks and they tipped me like $20, and I just felt so embarrassed. Like, that's like the worst thing that can happen. I felt like a failure. So while I was working on the floor, I was experiencing symptoms in my body. Like, I'd be walking and all of a sudden I'd be like, I felt like I needed to take a breath. I had to like pause like mid walking, like, what is going on? And I didn't know what was going on, but I was concerned. I thought maybe it was just my anxiety, but I've never had like bodily physical sensations like that just from anxiety. I've had anxiety since a little girl, so my anxiety never caused things like that. And I'd go in the back room where the girls were in the well, and I'd be like leaning over, just like fatigued, just tired, just needing like to sit. I can't explain it. It was just like, just standing up was just kind of like uncomfortable for me. And they'd be like, Amanda, are you all right? Like, why are you holding your stomach? Like, you look like exhausted. Like, it was like a task for me. It started to become a task for me just to run a drink on the floor. Like, that was a huge deal for me because I'm like, wow, okay. I was like, I can do it. But something just wasn't right inside. And I think this was the start of my autoimmune disease, my dysautonomia, and this was before I even got COVID. And I'd go to my doctor and I'd be like, I'm so like lightheaded while I'm on the floor. Like, I can't get a breath. It's like uncomfortable to walk. And he's like, it's just your anxiety. And I'm like, there's just no way that this is anxiety. I'm like, I'm going to have to quit my job. Like, I cannot run drinks on the floor. Like, I'm so lightheaded. Like, something is not right. But he kept saying everything's fine with me. It's just anxiety. Because I got my heart checked out, like my blood work, like everything on paper came back normal. And I was just like, what is going on? So I did end up quitting my job. And I was seeing somebody that was a narcissist. Before I became super aware of narcissism, I was falling into traps of narcissistic friends, narcissistic boyfriends, because I come from a narcissistic family. So that was a pattern with me. I was always trying to like get my worth affirmed by these narcissists who just wanted to use me, and they'd never really cared about me at all. And he was like, you can quit your job, like, I'll take care of you. He was a very successful man. And in my head, I'm just like, oh, okay, like, that's great. He ended up giving me COVID because he was a heavy drinker, huge alcoholic. And he would call me, he'd be like, I could have you if I wanted you, all this stuff, and like laughing and hanging up on me. I'm just like, what? Okay. But then he'd like always give me attention and say like, I love you. Really early in the relationship, I was definitely love bombed. So he gave me COVID and we broke up. And that relationship ended so quick because I was sick and he was being so mean to me while I was sick with COVID, just hanging up the phone. And he's the one who gave it to me. And I just felt so bad that I ended up once again hurting myself, because once again I'm falling into patterns with men that are narcissistic. So I got COVID and I became bedridden. I could not get out of bed after the 2-week mark where you're supposed to get better. And I had a fast heart rate right away. Every time I stood up, so the POTS was like severe chronic fatigue. I looked exhausted and I was in fight or flight. So I called my doctor and I tell him, hey, I'm not getting better from COVID. They're like, okay, it could take a few more months to get better. And I'm just like, I don't know what this means. And also there was a lot of fear back then with COVID. There's a lot of fear surrounding COVID. Like even one of my friends texted me like, get a pulse ox because one of my friends died in her sleep. And this just like set off a huge alarm in my nervous system. And I'm already a very anxious person. I've already had a lifetime of stress and damage and abuse. So my nervous system was already hot. And then I became even more dysregulated. My nervous system became more dysregulated after COVID-19. Like that was the stress that my body was just like, okay, we're permanently now stuck in this survival state. So I then spent a year trying to figure out what was going on with my body. At this point, I'm emotionally and physically traumatized because my body is no longer functional and I'm scared. So I joined a long COVID support group, and there was 50,000 people in this group with the same symptoms as me, bedridden, can't even make it to the mailbox. I'm like, this is me. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is happening to everybody? It was scary, but it was also like, why me? I was like falling into this victim mode. Why is everybody else getting better but not me? And everybody in that group was just like, try this vitamin and zinc and this vitamin and B12. And I was like buying all these vitamins, like thousands of dollars worth of vitamins, changing my diet, just like thinking that I just need to boost my immune system or something and I'll get better. Unfortunately, I've learned through my own research, hours upon hours of research, I burned the world to the ground when I went into an autoimmune state, because all that was on my mind is heal my body, heal my body. I need to heal. I need to figure out how to heal. There is a lot of people that get sick that fall into this like victim mentality. Like I went on Twitter and there's people who have long COVID who are just on there just like, yeah, my doctor, like they won't do anything for me. I got all the tests done, and I'm just like, I feel so bad for them because they're not in like a healing mindset, like a mind, body, spirit healing mindset. This is when I discovered Louise Hay, Joe Dispenza, my mentors that I work with today. I discovered the Gupta program, which is specifically for people with chronic illness and long COVID, POTS, chronic fatigue, ME. The list just goes on. And I was like, wow, brain retraining. Like this is what I need to do. I'm stuck in fight or flight. I need to brain retrain. So I was like, I made the intention that I'm going to brain retrain. And that's what I did. So I took courses, and healing is not overnight, and I'm still not healed, but I'm getting better and I'm getting my body out of this fight or flight. And how to do that is healing your trauma, healing your trapped emotions, getting out those core beliefs about yourself, because on a cellular level, your body listens to your subconscious mind. And if your subconscious mind is, I'm unlovable, I'm not seen, heard, valued, I'm not good enough, like I deserve abuse and suffering, which were my core beliefs, my body manifested a chronic illness. If I had to put a emotion on my POTS and my fast heart rate, I would say I don't feel seen, I blame myself for what happened, I'm not good enough.